Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 5 expansions of 2023. Now these are expansions that were released this year, might go without saying, but not expansions that we had happened to play for games or something. And yeah, good year for expansions, I think. A
Oh, yeah.
lot of really solid ones. And to be completely honest, like really any of these could be interchangeable for me. And I tried to focus on how much I liked, how much I liked the expansion, not the game it was expanding, is kind of how I did it, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Because this would be in a completely different order if I was going off of like the base game. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with an honorable mention. Now this was an expansion. It's actually the second expansion for this game that I think actually did a lot more. The first expansion gave the base game what it needed, and then this kind of really expanded upon it in a very interesting way. Added a small mini campaign to the game that wasn't all that bad. So my number 6 is The Lost Ruins of Arnak Missing Expedition. Yeah, so this added 2 new characters, which I find extremely fascinating, the mechanic and the journalist, which Lost Ruins adding the original like characters that you could play. Those 2 are just awesome, but also added in a solo or 2-player co-op little mini expansion. Now the co-op I don't think is all that good. It just kind of made the scenarios harder when you weren't really interacting with one another. Now solo, it was really good. I enjoyed each of the little chapters, kind of having a, pass or fail storytelling element. It's not like the best written thing in the world, but it's serviceable. Different ways of making that board unique. The different temple tiles or temple tracks that you're going up. Yeah, this is a picture of all the stuff that it added, and it added quite a few things.
Yeah,
The chapters adding in objectives that you had to meet to try and get extra cards to unlock that would either go into your deck then and there, and then into the future decks for the future chapters. But honestly, I didn't really have much to complain about for this expansion for an already great game, except now there's no more room in the box.
I know.
Like,
It's chock full.
got to do some real creative bagging, or hopefully, I'm sure there's a 3D printer organizer out there for it that fits it all. But yeah, and the great thing is you can just throw all this stuff in to the regular game, all the relics and items and monsters and stuff. So it expanded the game, but also gave you a different way to play it, and that's a pretty solid expansion in my book. So it's my number 6.
Yeah, this is definitely a good one. This was yeah, it's a good expansion to a great game for sure. All right. My honorable mention is one that I dropped in at the honorable mention because I haven't played it a ton, but I like what it adds to the base game. And you have yet to play this base game because it's one you've asked me about a couple of times. But this expansion just changes it enough that it makes it kind of it just adds a little coolness to it, and it's Revive Call of the Abyss. Revive
try this game.
Yeah, it's Revive is a cool game. The theme is kind of interesting because it's like the world has ended, civilization has ended and stuff, and now your people are coming out, and you're trying to revive the planet. You're repopulating, you're redoing all this different stuff. What's cool about this expansion, without going into too much of the base game, because there's a lot, You asked me the last time we played together what the most complex game was that I'd played this year.
Hmm.
Remember? And I forgot. Revive is pretty high up there.
Okay.
It's a pretty complex game. Um, and me and a couple of my friends played this expansion with it, and what it adds is it adds like a lake effect now, because there's a lot of ice caps in this game at the start, and usually when you go and you build there or whatever, you melt the ice caps, flip the thing over, and there's different land there. Now when you melt them over, you can get these lake things happening, and there's these different life forms now that you get to deal with, and they're water based. Because there's a lot of the theme is really weird. I mean, like, I told you the theme is pretty much you're re-inhabiting the planet and stuff like that, but there's all these weird um like creatures and stuff now, and there's all these gadgets that you're using, and there's just a lot of stuff going on in this game. And I do think, though, after gaming with you as long as I have now, I think this would be one that you would really like,
Yeah.
just because of all the crazy stuff you can do. Um, but yeah, you were just pretty much playing the regular game. It just adds the water effect, the lake effect to it. Just
Okay.
adds a little bit more of a variation to it, and then another life form. The life forms are, I can't even say the freaking name of them. They're Scyphos, or they live in the giant lakes that are formed by meltwater from the glaciers. So it's like just more stuff you have to deal with and everything. But yeah, there's a lot going on in this game, but it is a winner in my mind. Like, once you've played it one time, it takes about one time to really get a grasp of it. It's not like one round; it's like one game to get a grasp of it, and then you're fine, because
Yeah,
there's
because it
just so much stuff.
has a super intricate player board, right?
Yes,
Like a gears and pipes kind of player board.
yeah,
Okay.
all the gadgets, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to it, but it's still a really neat game. And this expansion is just one of those that just kind of adds more. It doesn't try to change too much, which is what we've talked about liking for expansions a lot of times, just adding
Hmm.
adding more stuff.
More of what you
Um,
already like.
right. So anyway, that would be my number 6,
All right.
Call of the Abyss.
Nice. All right. My number 5. This is an expansion to a game that already has a ton of expansions. And uh, with the expansions previously to this game, they've kind of done with mini stories, and this game has 2 of them. Um, Pretty much to just kind of have different gimmicks, but this game actually has a lot of content within it, but it's actually an expansion and not a standalone expansion. So my number 5 is Aeon's End, Past and Future. Um, so a couple misconceptions with this is I thought that the past and future storylines were going to be kind of better than they were. Um, they really were like not tied into like the legacy stuff at all or any of the other previous stuff. It's just kind of like here's a future setting, kind of, and here's a past setting that is actually a little bit more prominent. Um, Taking the story elements out of this expansion, the 2 gimmicks that they bring in are really cool. And obviously, it's more content for Aeon's End. I have played Aeon's End a ton, and I've also played Astronites. And I think with Astronites being available, I think that's why, because the future setting isn't really all that sci-fi. Um, and I do think that they kept it that way because if they went super sci-fi, then it would bleed into Astronites. Um, so it was kind of like, well, why would I play Astronauts when I can play the future stuff from Aeon's End? Um, so these, I don't even know what these are.
Like I
I don't
said,
even.
this was a hard one to put together with not knowing,
Mm,
because peek behind the curtain, my oldest daughter makes these PowerPoints,
yeah,
so this
yeah,
expansion
and
was
we do not
difficult.
give her any pictures or anything. So
Yeah, so
um,
she's picking
kudos
from
to her
the
for doing. I
yeah.
mean, because she doesn't have to do it at all. She'd be like, Dad, do it yourself. Or, hey, Seth, it's your channel. Why don't you make your own PowerPoints? And that's entirely valid. Um, but so I'll pull it up real quick. Aliens in past and future. There's actually not
There,
much. Oh,
yeah,
I
she
see.
said,
I see how she found that picture. Those aren't. Yeah, okay. I was just double checking. Like maybe they are characters. Um, yeah, never mind. There's not
yeah,
really.
she said there were some of them that were hard on the expansion, so she either did like back to the box pictures of components
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Okay. Well, I figured there would have at least been one picture, but there is not. Uh, but anyway, yeah. So essentially, this game adds, yeah, the past and future campaign, the future, or the yeah, and then uh 10 new mages, new nemesis, which is like the heart of this game, is how you're going to go about them. And some of them get really creative, like especially the one in the past. I'm not going to spoil anything as much. New cards, and new envelopes. Essentially, this game or this expansion gave a lot more. Um, to what was already a great game. But what was really neat is they had a gimmick in, I think it was the future one, where you can kind of you could pay a little bit for a card and set it off to the side, um, to have it kind of in a neutral area that would then enhance other cards. So like there is a spell that would be like it does 2 damage, but it also does an additional 2 more damage for each one of these cards in that zone. In
Gotcha.
that, I don't remember what it was called, but so it's like it would cost 4 to just outright get the spell, but it would cost 2 to put it in that prep zone. Um, so it's like you can kind of partially pay because then once it's in that zone, you pay the 2 again. So you're still paying the full amount for the card, or sometimes you're paying more when a card costs 6 outright, but 4 to make it cheaper. But
Yeah,
2 payments of 4 in this game is a lot easier than 1 payment of 6.
right.
Uh, and I thought that that was a really cool, interesting little element to add into the game. Just having, um, oh, the develop zone, that's what it's called. Because I'm looking at some cards. Like there's an imbued pocket watch that costs 2 to put it into your deck, or 3 to put it in the develop zone. But any player gains a charge if there are 2 or more imbued pocket watch in the develop zone. Any player gains a life. So it did a lot of stuff with like this develop zone, which I thought was an interesting take of new stuff into the game. But really, it's a number 5 because it had some semblance of story, even though the stories weren't quite what I was wanting out of what I was thinking it was going to be for past and future, but more great content because the Nemesis were, again, interesting and different from everything that they're adding. So now I just want a storage solution. That's all I want. I just want one storage solution. I want them to be, at this point, I'd be happy if they were done. If they were like, boom, here's one big final expansion and a storage solution. I'd be golden.
I honestly haven't heard anything about any more content yet. Because
Yeah, they
usually
did
they're
Astronites, and
yeah.
then they did an expansion to Astronites, so who knows if that's the route they're going to go. I don't know. Here's hoping 2024 Aeon's End storage solution.
And I haven't played this one yet, or else it might have been on my list too, but haven't
I think
touched it.
I've done a review on all of these expansions as well. So
Okay.
some of them we've done together.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. All right. My number 5. I am going to take a wild guess that it's on your list at some point. because this is an expansion that we were calling for this game since we've played the initial base game.
Hmm.
And then when they announced this expansion, it was like, oh yeah, now it's time to rock and roll, and it did what we were hoping it would do, and that is Vindication Chronicles.
Nice.
This, even though it's not like, it injects enough narrative into it now, without going overboard. I mean, it's still
Yeah,
Vindication.
it's not like boom, here's your narrative
Right.
driven campaign now.
Right. I mean, it's still Vindication. It just adds your just enough stuff, decision making, stuff like that, to kind of bring in your own flavor to it a little bit. Which is, like we said, that's what this game needed. As fun as this game is, you were relied upon yourself to try to come up with the theme and the story about what your character was doing. And I mean, and this helps it out a bunch. And what you're doing on it is, as you complete certain things, you're filling out your boards, like this little pad of paper thing here, you're filling out as you complete certain things. And as your journey, what they call it, your legendary journey. And you get more powerful as you go. There's all these unique events that pop up. And this just breathed a ton of fresh air into this game. I mean, and I still haven't played with all the expansion stuff and little module expansions that they have. I think we've played like the pets, and we've played maybe 2 or 3 other ones, but there's now that this, because with the campaign that had this, we had, there was the big box storage solution, and the hamlets and all that crap. But the big box is cool because it holds all this junk in it and everything. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to say with this. I'm assuming it's going to be on your list, so you can drop your knowledge on it when we get to that point. But yeah, this is one of those things that this game was begging for. They added it, and so I was glad they did. So
yeah, we might talk about it later. Just like we're definitely going to be talking about my number 4 later.
Oh, you think? Are you that confident?
I'm 100% confident this is your number 1. There's no way it's not.
So, wow, make a big shout out there, huh?
Yep. This is how much I know you. So my number 4 is an expansion, the final expansion to this game that we know of. Unless they find some way to figure out how to store it in their own personal storage solution. This is a game that you and I played together and reviewed. The expansion, it is essentially kind of a standalone expansion, similar to the first one that they had, and that is Too Many Bones, Unbreakable. So Unbreakable basically added new characters, new new terrain, new cards, like kind of like its own, like what was the other one that was called? I think it was also Undertow.
Yes.
Where it was kind of like you can just buy Unbreakable and play that like you could the core game and Undertow. Although I will say that the standalone characters for Unbreakable are better than the standalone characters for Undertow. I also like the lava theme a lot more than the water theme, but all that can be integrated together. They have unique loot. They have unique characters. They have unique campaign cards and unique they're not called Nemesis. They are called Tyrants. So if you were a fan of Too Many Bones, like Brad and I are, this was just way more content and Got to give them props. They found some way to store it in that trove chest, but you got to get a little creative for
Yeah.
that, which is weird though. You'd think it's like, hey, you designed the storage solution, so as you're designing the game, why don't you find a way to like not make it weird in your own storage solution?
It's the best
Anyway,
gear lock in this picture.
Carcass,
Oh, I love this.
Carcass is
Love them.
weird. I don't know, man. I think
Oh,
he's
there's
in the 20 strong. Figment. I think Figment's just super, super cool.
there's a bunch of cool ones. Like we could do a tier list
We're
of
supposed to be doing a ranking on the gear on not the yeah on the gear locks.
yeah,
Um,
because I've played them all now. So
I think I have two. Yeah, I think I had notes for all of them as well. Uh, but yeah, so Too Many Bones Unbreakable, like it's not as high on this list just because like it didn't like enhance the game in any way. It just gave you more content, uh, which is still a good thing. But it wasn't like, oh my god. It was like, yep, more great Too Many Bones stuff. Like, if this isn't in Too Many Bones, you still have a shit ton of content. Now you just have even more content.
but yeah.
In God, how much do you think that trove chest weighs?
I think they said a fully loaded trove chest because they were talking about it. It was like 70 some pounds.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think.
Because I was trying to explain it. I'm like, I'm horrible at just guesstimating weight, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I think 70 to 100 pounds, but 100 seemed like way too much.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
said in the box and they when they were showing how to box it all in there and everything, they said it was like 70, like 73 pounds,
okay.
which is
Yeah, that's
nuts.
insane. Um, but the enemies that they come in, like the new baddies, like they utilize the mat. That mat there has chips in it that can flip over to have lava, which can damage you. Some enemies get stronger around those. Some don't get damaged at all. Um, and I like that. I like that they have a little bit different map, like Undertow did with the raft kind of
Right.
stuff. So yeah, it's just more fantastic Too Many Bones content. So that's my number 4.
Good choice.
We'll talk
Good
about it in
choice.
about three more
You think?
numbers.
All right. Um, we might. You never know.
That's true. Some of the games that you bring up, I'm surprised you've played because I just assume when you're working, like whenever it's a school year, you're not playing anything, and then like
I get most of mine done like with some of my guys here in Pittsburgh,
yeah,
but
that makes sense.
we game every now and again because they like to they buy more faster than they can play. So like they get the new stuff. So a lot of times I don't have to buy the new stuff right off the bat because I just play theirs. And they
It
don't
is
know how to
nice.
teach. They don't know how to teach games. So I have to.
Gotcha.
You know,
Yeah, I'm finally in that zone. Like years ago, it was me buying every game
yeah.
and teaching it, and now I have friends who buy games, and I'm like, oh, thank God, I don't have to spend money anymore.
All right. My number 4. I'm not sure if you have played it yet. It was on our docket to play, and we never got around to it a couple of times ago because I had tire issues and I had to leave early. Um, but it's an expansion to an Ameritrash kind of game that we both enjoy. This one ramps up the difficulty of this game quite a bit by adding in the climate, like the weather conditions and all that stuff to it. And that is Maximum Apocalypse Wasted Wilds.
I have played this.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
Yeah, I haven't I haven't really touched the new stuff because it's scenario based now, right?
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
so I did the first scenario, and I don't think it added like the weather or stuff, so I haven't touched that stuff.
Yeah, if you do the Frozen Wilds, it's like the intro mission by
Oh,
mission campaign. It kind of teaches you. It's like the tutorial.
Okay.
So if you use
Then
the
maybe I
first
did, and I don't
mouse,
really. It's on my shelf, like up at the top of like games to like play because we haven't reviewed it. Um, but I've played it once and haven't touched it because I'm pissed that you can't store it in the base game in the
that
fucking
was what I was
box.
going to bring up. Because remember,
Can
because I got this Kickstarter, and that was the first thing I messaged you because I was trying to put it in the legendary box edition.
mm-hmm.
I was like, "There's no fucking way this fits. There's no way."
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was pretty amped on that at that point. But the game itself is really cool because the base game is is fun anyway, and then this
Yeah.
just adds more complexity, adding the
Mm-hmm.
weather deals and stuff like that. Um, and it makes it a lot harder as well since you have to deal with all that extra stuff. But but yeah, I mean, you the pretty much it's the same game with the exception. I mean, you have your dials and stuff for like daytime, nighttime, crap like that. You have
Mm-hmm.
your weather junk, but you really setup wise, it's pretty much the same way. I mean,
Yeah.
you just run through and stuff. It just adds that complexity of the outside elements is pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard if they're doing anything else with this game.
I don't know. Rock Manor, they don't do a lot. They have the Lawyer Up game.
Yeah,
They have that new Seeds of Havoc game.
yeah, which I haven't touched that.
I haven't either. Like, I've heard, I mean, I've really only heard what the Dice Tower has to say. They seem kind of like they like it, but some don't really care for it all that much. I don't really know. Uh, this has to be like their most popular one. I think that they could do more
Think
for
so.
it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. You couldn't even take a guess on what they would add to
I
change
mean,
it.
more characters. There's always more characters, more different ways to do Apocalypse. Add more stuff to the
Yeah.
Wasted Wilds. Um, but yeah, they might be tapped out. I don't know. They are a company that I keep an eye out on though, because even though I didn't like the Lawyer Up game, at least that's a unique theme. Um, Seeds of Havoc, I have no idea, but yeah, no. This expansion, from what I played the Thief, which I think is a
Mhm.
new character, and the Time Traveler. Um,
The time
and both of
traveler
those are
was pretty interesting.
he's a
Uh,
little wild though, because he has
yeah.
his own little time car that you can like
Uh-huh.
hop around. One of these days, I'm gonna play this game and I'm gonna make a line that is gonna be the whole. That's gonna be the map. Is a line. Now, it's not gonna work, but I'll play it that way.
Yeah, we need to
Um,
play this together because I've only played this ever solo. I've never played this with another person.
oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I play a two character solo,
I
but
brought this to a friend's house one time and we played, I think, 4 players, and it's a blast. This game is so good.
yeah.
I don't remember what we did for the end of the world though. But yeah, this expansion, it probably would be on this list. Well, maybe not, because I don't think it would bypass Ruins of Arnak. It would have been considered though, but I didn't consider it because I had just touched it the one time and I didn't really dive into the new stuff.
Yep. That'll work.
All right. My number 3 is another expansion that basically added more stuff. Um, and apparently that they're working on even more content, which I didn't know. Uh, but this expansion, unlike kind of Unbreakable, Too Many Bones Unbreakable, which just obviously added great stuff. This expansion, I think, is a little bit more creative somehow in the content that it brings. So my number 3 is Spirit Island, Nature Incarnate. Uh, because what this game also added was new cards to the old spirits, kind of give it like revitalizing them a little bit more, which I think is really neat. The the expansion, whenever we played, my friend played the sun spirit, which was kind of all about destroying its own. Oh, that's right. You're not a huge fan of this game anymore. So I was trying to explain it, and I was like, you were not going to remember. But the
No.
sun was like all about destroying its own presence, which normally causes you to lose the game. But he was able to bring out his presence because it's like, well, he's the sun, so he just kind of like hyper beams everyone with his sun powers, which kind of like kills him, but then he comes back. Um, and I cannot remember who I played. But every time that, and that's what makes these expansions great. Like Too Many Bones, like really, this one and Spirit Island could probably swap between each other. Maybe to determine which one I liked more, I did go to which base game I like, and I like Spirit Island more than Too Many Bones. Until we do our uh that's a creative picture. She's like, I can't find fucking one, so I'm just gonna do the back of the box. She went to a game store and just flipped it over and took a picture. She's like, I can't find shit.
That's gotta be the only one.
Oh, I played that dog. Hey, see, yeah, the dog, because that one was all about protecting the Daehan, and basically made them indestructible. That was fun.
That's cool.
So they just make it way more creative with these spirits that are coming out. Yeah, and it just added a bunch more tokens because some spirits they use what are they called, incarna tokens, which is kind of like they don't really have presence specifically, like they're not like, hey, we're right here. It's like they're just naturally around, which is interesting. I haven't quite tried those yet. Some of the spirits are like, you're like, oh, okay, let's look at the complexity: medium, hard, 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 very hard, very hard. And you're like, can I, like, what, why are these insane to play? But more powers, new event cards, new blights, new fear cards, just more content to this game. And I think I was able to make it work in the wooden storage box. And I made the comment that, like, why would they make a wooden storage solution without and still make more expansions? And someone commented, and apparently that wooden storage thing wasn't actually buy greater than games,
Oh, really?
which I thought it was. I thought they had a partnership, but according to this one person who, might know more than I do, I guess it wasn't like them actually designing it, because then they even said they're working on more content, and I'm like, yay, boo, because I can't fit it in my storage solution. I'll get creative. But they added more scenarios, a new adversary. So again, more content that you can integrate into everything else. Yeah, I fucking love this game. It's so good. And I said I liked Spirit Island more than Too Many Bones, and I really hope that's the case when we do our top 100. Because Spirit Island should be higher. But yeah, so kind of in the middle for this top 5 with Too Many Bones and Spirit Island, really just adding more of the same, like, to it. It's not like turning Spirit Island on its support. It's like, hey, now it's competitive. It's like, if you love the base game of these, then here's more greatness. So yeah, that's my number 3, Spirit Island, Nature Incarnate.
Good choice.
I'm amazed you do not like this game. This blows. Like, this is like, I know we differ on some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I just do not understand how you play like Hoplomachus. And this one, you're just like, nope, fuck it.
I don't know what it was.
It's not 8 hours of boredom. So
yeah, I'm not really sure why. That just never really caught me. So anyway, my number 3 is, it's gonna look.
I guess. Sorry, I didn't know this. I think I actually knew this from reading it. I guess you have to have the core game and the Jagged Earth expansion, so that's interesting. You have to have another expansion to play this. So that's kind of a shame. That's weird to do, where it's like, hey, to play this expansion, you have to get another expansion. Anyway, I just noticed that. The Jagged Earth expansion is good too.
So my number 3 is going to look kind of like a cheat. It's not
because
really.
It is.
Well, it's 2 expansions for one
Like,
game.
because
But
it's not an expansion,
no,
and it came out 10 years ago.
they're standalone, but they're also expansions to this game system, and they both came out at the exact same time. So I went ahead and put them on here because I use them as expansion stuff. And it's to one of my most sprawling games that I have, and that is Shadows of Brimstone, Gates of Valhalla, and Valley of the Kings. Part of the Shadows of Brimstone Adventures expansions. So these add a ton of stuff. They also flesh out some of the other worlds that Shadows of Brimstone has. The Gates of Valhalla is stuff that brings in Viking theme, but it fleshes out the Targa other world more. That was like a snow and ice type world. The Valley of the Serpent Kings is like a Spanish Inquisition stuff, and it fleshes out the swamp other world
Okay.
a little more. And what these do is they bring in more story to it, because like in Shadows of Brimstone, you just did separate missions. Like you just chose a mission, you'd read the prologue, go into the cave or whatever, do the mission, your outcome would tell you the story. This one has kind of a sprawling story to it. You do the scenarios in order. You make different choices. That's where the whole Shadows of Brimstone Adventures comes in, because it makes it more of like a
Are these the only 2 that came out for the adventures?
Yes, so far.
Okay.
I backed another whole massive Kickstarter a handful of months ago that I'll probably get in 3 years or so. but anyway, these are just really neat. I mean, having the story elements to it, getting to be able to play like the Norse people and the Spanish Inquisition. This is what I was telling you, that I knew this was coming.
Well, the game technically, it probably hasn't been made. Like you said, it's going to come out in 3 years. They're like, shit, we actually haven't produced anything for it.
That one's bringing in ancient Egypt, which is going to be awesome with all the monsters and stuff. And then the Hell Train, which is something that they've been talking about for a long time. It's going to be like a train board. You're moving on long cars and stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, man, it all sounds fun. Maybe one day I'll actually get to play it with you. You've been getting this played lately, though.
I have, yeah. We have,
which is good.
Chad and them guys, we've been running the campaign through the Valley of the Serpent Kings, and I've been doing the Gates of Valhalla with another group. But
cool.
That's
good.
I used the Jaguar Warrior on Valley of the Serpent Kings, and it's just
now,
one of those...
Are these like? Can you pick? Like, could you have a Viking go to the Valley of the Serpent Kings?
You can. You can use these as other worlds and do that, but it takes away, because there's a team element on these.
Okay.
So that's what's happening in the Valley of the Serpent Kings right now with us, because I chose one of the extra characters that was unlocked, the Jaguar Warrior. And he isn't a conquistador. So like there's a if you are a conquistador, so the other 3 guys I'm playing with are conquistador characters. So they have this special, they're cohesive. They can kind of do stuff together.
I see.
My guy doesn't, but my guy also has a lot more special stuff, like more powers. And not to mention, I'm a vampire now.
That's right.
So now I'm a vampire Jaguar Warrior that just goes around and just
sucks
rampages.
That's pretty cool.
So
so it doesn't like destroy the story element if you bring in
no.
a samurai from the feudal Japan thing. Okay.
No, it just takes away the team, like, because they have this own little deck. There's a conquistador deck that they get to draw stuff from that I don't get to participate in. But
they're like, anyway, like they huddle together. Like that guy's a weirdo. He keeps eyeing us at nighttime. Like
he can't go out in the sunlight.
But he's fine. I'm sure that's just that's a cultural thing.
but no, it's a really cool addition to this game, and
You
uh,
would think that they just quit making other stuff at this point. Flying Frog needs to be
well,
Shadows, like Brimstone Productions.
I think they kind of have because there's these stupid expansions that's were supposed to have come out for Fortune and Glory like a few years ago, and like they haven't been saying anything about them, and they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So everything is
I'd
Shadow.
like to see a remake of Fortune and Glory. That was a cool system. Um, but yeah, at this point they need to just focus on this because it's such a cool concept. I haven't played this since I did the Swamps of Death, you know,
Yeah,
10 years ago. So I don't really remember the gameplay all that much, but I just love the concept of like, okay, well, go through this ancient portal and all right, spaceship.
yep, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeehaw!
yeah. I know. It's just. I get the Stargate vibe with this. I mean, I know it's the different starting thing, but you know how they go through different gates and they'd end up in another weird world. Did you ever,
Right.
did you ever watch like Stargate SG-1?
I think I watched a movie.
Well, there was
There
a
was like
movie, yeah, but
I think
there's a
I think
Stargate.
I've only seen the movie.
There was a TV show that went on for a long time called Stargate SG-1, and it
Okay.
was those groups, and they would go into different locations all over the universe, and it was always different, kind of like
Hmm.
kind of like this. They'd show up and have to adapt to whatever was there and stuff, and
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
but no,
So
this is top notch. I will always dig Shadows of Brimstone stuff because it just adds more shit to it, and
the story element, I think is a nice touch. I bet you they start doing that for their other worlds.
yeah, yep.
I'd be surprised if they didn't.
So
Cool.
anyway,
Cool,
that's
cool,
my
cool.
number three.
I'll just live, what is it, vicariously through you.
Yeah,
Be like, oh, tell me what happened in your campaign. I'd love to play it. But you're fucking lazy. Don't want to work out and carry all the get a U-Haul.
I
To
know.
carry all the stuff. All right. My number two is an expansion that I'm not sure if you've played. If you have, then it might also be your number two. This is an expansion that, while wasn't necessarily like needed, I mean, it was the obvious expansion that was coming for this game. But what it did for the game actually makes it so much better. And it was an expansion that when I reviewed the original game, it's like, here's what they need to do. I hope they do it in their next expansion. And they did. Nailed it. So my number two is Marine Worlds for Ark Nova. Um, as with every zoo animal themed game, Dinosaur Island, this Meadows, trying to think of another nature game. I guess Wingspan doesn't count because what water birds are you having? um, but they always add water, like aquatic things. And surprisingly, this wasn't a big expansion. It's like in a narrow box like this, very thin. Uh, but the small elements that they did add were really nice. I love the. Have you played this expansion?
Not yet.
Okay.
I got it for Christmas, and I haven't got a chance to play it yet.
Gotcha. Okay, so the big thing that they needed to fix in Ark Nova was the fact that whenever you set up the game, you just shuffle the zoo cards and put them on a stack and hope that you got what you wanted. Marine Worlds adds quite a bit of ways to seed through that deck. So while cards don't necessarily stay that long, which some people might not like, that zoo deck is milling a lot more, which means there's more options, more zoo builds. That's good. What it also added was every single action card that you uh, had four variants to play, and you actually do a draft of these unique action cards. So whenever you're drafting, you obviously have to have the five different ones, but you're going to have a different type of action card that's cycling through. So once you're done doing the draft for initial setup, everyone will have, I can't remember if it's one or two um, unique action cards. So everyone will have a different way that they could do animals, or everyone would have a different way that they could sponsor. than everyone else, and that I think was also really cool. Do you want to go to the next picture, Brad? Jesus Christ! See how helpful this is.
Right.
It's not even showing what I'm talking about. No, because what they also did. So the action cards I think was a really nice touch that I had no idea that they were bringing. Um, what's showing here are the aquariums. So you could only have one of each type of aquarium. They work similar to the aviaries or the reptile houses.
Right.
Um, pretty much you have to have these built to get the fish into your zoo. But a lot of the fish just obviously don't take up any space. And they included a new university that whenever you grab it, you actually get to look through the deck for an icon of that type. So while it doesn't guarantee you like always getting an animal, you can at least get something that will guarantee you at least one of something. So they didn't, if you were looking for ways to always get what you're wanting, that's not what this expansion is adding, but it did make it easier. So that was nice. And then it also gave you more of an icon, so your strategy did inherently play out better, while also not muddying up the game. Arc Nova is phenomenal of a game. At this point, it's been out long enough for that hype of like this kills terraforming Mars. I've played Arc Nova with this expansion. I played Terraforming Mars this year. They both they're not the same game.
Right.
Like they're both still great. But this was a very nice expansion for the game. So yeah, that's why it's my number 2. It jumps up to number 2, whereas obviously I like Too Many Bones and Spirit Island better. This actually improved the game that was already great, and it's like it added more variety, more and they also added a reef icon on the aquatic animals that whenever it's going through the market, for every reef icon you see, it actually, that's one way it mills through the deck. But also there are reef abilities that will trigger whenever you put them into your zoo. So that was kind of a nice little engine earth kind of style where it's like, boom, okay, now these abilities are going off. So yeah, that is number 2. I mean, I know you love Arc Nova, so this
would have been on my list if I would have played it for sure.
Yeah. Probably at number 2 as well, because your number 1 is so obviously taken. But yeah, so I think this will be a like a staple. Like I'm not gonna play Arc Nova without this expansion. So that's my number 2, Arc Nova Marine Worlds.
Okay, my number 2 is a crossover.
Well, it's not Too Many Bones. It's Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Actually, Too Many Bones. No.
Is it? Oh, I was like, is it really? Nice.
This one's on here, like all the stuff you said. I mean, I play this game solo more than anything. So having having a little campaign and all that different stuff just made it neat. Having the two new explorers just added cool stuff to it. I like how
Which one did you like between the two?
I think I preferred. Gosh, I don't know. I think I probably play the mechanic more.
Okay. The mechanic was good. I liked her. I thought the journalist being able to move his journal track up higher than his like evidence track, I thought was thematic, because he's like, I'm just gonna make up shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even need to see it. I'm gonna write about it anyway. I thought he was cool.
Yeah, and they're both good. I mean, they've done such a good job with this game. Like when they did the initial box, and everybody was freaking out over it, and then they put the online solo content and everything. They've done so much.
I forgot about that. I never played that.
Yeah, it was really good too. I mean, I think this was more thought out than that one, but still it was fun to play.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean
I will say that I probably wouldn't ever do the campaign again because while it was good, it it made you play a certain way. Like you had to focus on what that chapter was wanting with really
Mhm.
no leeway on playing.
Yeah,
Um, so it was like, oh, this is a nice different puzzle. And I did every chapter with a different character
right.
when I did it for the channel, but um, it was still a solid campaign.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I wonder how much more they're going to do with this game, but you just never know. I mean, they've done more
Yeah,
for it than I thought they were going to. I
that's
mean,
true.
so I mean, because the first expansion was almost a necessity with having the alternate
Hmm.
research tracks and stuff like that. But
And this added another two
yeah,
research tracks that were super creative.
yeah. So I
Um,
mean,
I
they're
don't
just
know.
doing really good, you know.
I'd like them to keep like I really like this game. I thought both expansions are phenomenal, so I'd like them to keep going, like more research tracks.
Hmm.
Like but I wonder if that would eventually get stale, you know. Oh, more another two research tracks, another more, more characters. I wonder if they would have to really start getting creative.
Wonder if they
Maybe
get a new board.
I was thinking that too, like
Yeah,
really just kind of throw it on its head. Who knows? I don't know. Like
yeah.
there was it Min and whatever their names are, Min and Llewellyn.
Min and Elwyn.
You know, I thought I was actually a lot closer than I thought. Um, yeah, I think this is our only. No, it's not. Yeah, this is our only game.
Well, I mean,
Um,
they're doing really well with it.
yeah, designer duo. Yeah, I think they definitely got something here. So we'll just see.
Yep, sounds
No,
good.
good
That's my
deal.
number two.
All right, my number one is a crossover.
Crossover.
It certainly is.
Oh, it's Vindication.
It is. It is Vindication Chronicles. Uh yeah, no expansion that I played this year um brought in like something that we've been asking for this entire time. Vindication Chronicles, like I thought enhanced the game in a much better way that it made it like that much of a better game. Like Vindication was already great for its like Euro style storytelling kind of. It was as much storytelling as like Call to Adventures is, where
Hmm.
you really just kind of had to tell the story yourself. And Chronicles adds the kind of choose your own adventure in a very Euro-y way. Um, with it being still more storytelling. Like now it's actually written out for you versus inferred by what you're currently doing. So, um, what I think we were wanting, because I remember whenever we were doing the review for this, I don't think you were as wowed by it, but I think you and I were both kind of expecting maybe an adventure book,
Yeah.
like an actual campaign kind of thing, which
Hmm.
that's not what this is. I think that would have kind of thrown the whole game for it's like, well, that's not what Vindication is.
Right.
And also Orange Nebula doesn't really do storytelling that way anyway. Their unsettled game is loose storytelling through cards uh and their new one, Spirit Fire, is a whole experiment in and of itself. I've never seen a company put out so many videos explaining what the fuck their game is
I
than
know.
Spirit Fire and Orange Nebula. Um, but Vindication Chronicles, yeah, has a way for you to actually chart out what your character is doing, how they're swaying in decision making. Yeah, the legendary journey is kind of like these are the different aspects that you're already dealing with throughout the game anyway, but now you have it kind of written out. Now you get rewarded for doing things. Now you're getting bonuses and benefits and on each card, which there's a ton of, like a ton of cards, depending on how you want to react to any given situation. So while it's not exactly what we were probably wanting, it's exactly what fits for Vindication.
Right.
And I guess we must have, whenever we did the review, someone was like, "Oh, I wish you kind of said what the expansion did," and I was like, "Did we not?" Like, I guess we might have just missed what it specifically brought, but yeah, this is really what it brings. There's tons of different decks for the different decks in the game, but now it's like, oh, you go to this, you do a monster encounter, now you have a monster storytelling thing. And Orange Nebula, like, I'm very, very curious for Spiritfire because their writing is well done. Like, they have a lot, like Unsettled is pretty witty with their writing. So I think they could knock a knock a storytelling game out of the park. So if you like Vindication and you love the Euro elements, but you're like, man, I kind of wish there was more meat to the story, this is a fantastic expansion to get. On top of the fact that this came with the storage solution and they really nailed the storage solution. Yeah. This one was easily my number one expansion of the year because it's an expansion that I was absolutely wanting. So yeah, that's my number one, Vindication Chronicles.
Good choice.
Boy, is Too Many Bones Unbreakable your number one?
I totally forgot about that game being a 2023 game. Yeah, it's my number one.
I really wish it wasn't. You're right. Fuck, I did forget.
God damn it. Pause the video and I'll edit it. No, this one, I mean, is easily number one. I mean, Too Many Bones is one of my favorite games. And then this was this expansion blew Undertow away. I mean, because I liked Undertow just because it was more content, but this one, the way they added the lava tokens to the mat and how they brought all that into it just made, because most of the time when you're playing Too Many Bones and you're on that battle mat, you just kind of limit you moving around just a little bit.
Yeah, if you're range, you're never moving.
Right. But
yeah.
But with this, like, you need to move because if the lava pops, you got to be, if you end your turn, I think where lava is, I think you lose points, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. So like you got to.
Yeah, I think it's unblockable damage. You just take damage.
So it's like and they've done good with the tyrants because some tyrants and some of the baddies in there, they get stronger if they're on the lava, or they flip certain lavas and stuff. So it just adds that much more stuff to it. And just like with all their other expansions and content, I mean, it all just is top notch. And the characters that they added along that time are all really cool.
Yeah, because this one came. Okay, so who were the? It's
Figment.
It was Gale. Figment and Gale.
Yeah,
and in Undertow, it's Stanza and
that's
Dart.
It's yes.
Hold on.
I got
Undertow. Too Many Bones Undertow. It is
Stanza and Duster.
Duster has the wolf.
Yeah, because Duster was a bad guy. Remember?
That's right. Yeah, he's a tyrant.
Yeah, but then you get to play him as a playable too.
Fucking Stanza is something else. That's an on the spectrum character. Like someone's like, my favorite character is Stanza. Oh, okay, all right. Figment and Gale are, I think, just kind of way better.
Oh yeah,
Gearlocks out the box.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and then there was all those other add-on ones that came with this campaign. Carcass, who's one of my favorites, and stuff. But it's just nuts how different they all are. the work they put into this stuff. I know this is the conclusion to the game, but I'm super, super excited for the Elder Scrolls because it is going to use the Too Many Bones battle system. It's like it's almost like a Too Many Bones 2.0, but going to be in a Elder Scrolls world and stuff.
Yeah,
So
I remember you lied
means.
straight to my face about that being demoed at Gen Con. You're like, I'm gonna make him look around.
No, that's what it looked like on their deal.
Go to the booth and look like an idiot when you asked about it.
But no, this one. Too Many Bones is just an awesome game, and there really isn't much more to say about it. It's just top notch. And again, I'm a Chip Theory Games fanboy, so there's that.
You are. All right. Well, that is what.
That
R is Games Expanded. These are our favorite expansions for 2023. Let us know what you think of them in the comments below. Let us know what your favorite expansions were also in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.